The transition to the self-actualization economy has begun. Although this transition is not complete, we have come a long way. For the first time in history, humanity is engaged in a great conversation about what kind of civilization it wants and what we, as individuals and as a species, want to become. Movies, global cyber games, UN summits, VR news, flash mob cyber teach-ins, and thought leaders probe the meaning of life and the possible future as never before. The historic shift from human labor and knowledge to machine labor and knowledge is clear. Humanity is being freed from the necessity of having a job to earn a living and a job to achieve self-respect. This is initiating the transition from the job economy to the self-actualization economy. Humanity began to break free from the anxiety and pressure to make a living when artificial narrow intelligence, ANI, became more universal, and as artificial general intelligence, AGI, emerged in the mid-2030s. Plus, the basic income guarantee experiments in the early 21st century were shown to have positive effects in Brazil, Finland, Switzerland, and the Basque region of Spain. Earlier experiments on a smaller scale that gave basic income to groups in India, Liberia, Kenya, Namibia, and Uganda showed that the majority of people used the money more wisely than critics expected. People tended to use the income to make more income. These studies also showed that health increased, crime decreased, education improved, and self-employment increased, contrary to the view that guaranteed income would make everyone lazy. Finland and the UK showed that their supplemental cash payment system that consolidated welfare programs was more efficient than complex bureaucracies. As the world became increasingly aware in the 2020s that growth by itself was no longer increasing wages and employment, thought leaders began to call more loudly for new economic assumptions. Attempts to reduce the global unemployment situation, such as changing tax credits, increasing the power of labor unions, improving STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics education, promoting job sharing, and reducing work hours helped but made only marginal differences. Something far more fundamental was happening. As the Industrial Revolution replaced muscles, so the AI revolution is replacing knowledgeable brains. As the numbers of unemployed continued to increase, due to no fault of their own, but due to new technologies, many began to lobby for a basic income for all. But the cost of living back then was still too high for national budgets to afford. It wasn't until the mid-2030s that the cost of living began to fall enough and government income began to increase enough that basic income systems became financially sustainable. Today's 6 billion world workforce has 1 billion employed, 3 billion self-employed, 1 billion in the informal economy, and 1 billion in transition to self-employment. About 3 billion people were employed in the early 21st century. Today there are 4 billion, either employed by others or self-employed. Hence, new technology over the last several decades created as much or more new kinds of employment than it replaced. The concept of unemployment has lost its meaning to the new globals generation. As artificial general intelligence began to integrate and manage countless artificial narrow intelligence (ANI) programs in the 2030s to maintain and improve the